Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Conversations of Coffee with me, Rabbi Steve from Bet Tzedek Congregation in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Today, I am really delighted to welcome my friends, Rabbi Reuven and Michal Stamov, to be with us. I look forward to asking them about what's going on in Ukraine from the perspective of the ground. They and members of their community recently were able to make it to safety outside of Ukraine, and Rabbi Stamov and Michal are coming to us today from Israel, where Rabbi Stamov is getting ready to return to the border with Ukraine in order to continue to pastor to the needs of his community and to other members of Ukraine that are fleeing for safety and are part of the now 2.8 million Ukrainians that are seeking refuge outside of Ukraine. Before we get to that, we are on Facebook, YouTube, and BethTzedek.tv. If you like today's conversation, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share with your friends. Comments are always appreciated and help us get the conversation to more people. If you have any questions for our guest, please put them in the Facebook or YouTube chat, and we'll do our best to bring them into the show. With that out of the way, allow me to introduce my friends, Rabbi Reuven and Michal Stamov. Rabbi Stamov was born in Simferopol in Ukraine to a secular family. At 18, he developed a passion for Masorti Judaism through his involvement with Midreshet Yerushalayim, a division of the Schechter Institute of Jewish Studies. His path eventually led him to Israel in 2003, where he decided that he wanted to become a Masorti Rabbi. Reuven was the first Masorti conservative rabbi in Ukraine. Each summer during his studies, he would return to his native country to work at Camp Ramah in Ukraine. It was during these summer trips that he began to lay the foundations for creating what was and still is, even though in the last week or so, last couple of weeks, that's all been uprooted, of what was a vibrant Masorti Jewish life in Ukraine. During one special summer, he met Michal, who eventually became his wife, and together they're the parents of two young girls. Please join me in welcoming Michal and Reuven Stamov. Hello.
Hello and shalom from
Shalom.
Israel.
I'm first of all, I'm amazed that you guys are conscious with all of the work that you've been doing. I mean, you just arrived in Israel. I think it was Thursday night. Is that when you got there?
Yes, it was Thursday night, and I also want to add that we have three beautiful girls.
Three beautiful girls. I'm sorry I got that wrong.
We are parents of three beautiful girls, and we arrived from Ukraine with three beautiful girls. So
before we get into the details of the journey, I think it's important for people to understand more about Jewish life in Ukraine up until the war. Reuven, you went back to Ukraine as rabbi full-time in 2012. And since that time, there's now 6 kehilot in the Masorti movement that are throughout Ukraine, 5 kehilot. Tell us a little bit about the work that you and Michal have done to build the Masorti community in Ukraine from that time.
Okay, I will talk. We have 5 communities in big cities. It's Odessa, Kharkiv, and Kyiv. Some little cities. It's and Dnipro, and also it's a huge city, and Chernovitz, what is the western border near Romania, and so we have very fruitful and peaceful Jewish life in all the communities. We had Sunday schools, and we have Kabbalat Shabbat and different. I can't explain because it was, like far away from now, and we have a school. And we just prepared to open new synagogue in Kyiv. You know that we rebuilt it, and we just prepared the opening in May, big opening. And we have we started from 3 families and continued for now. It's maybe 150 families in Kyiv. and families were prepared for big opening and celebration of 10th anniversary of Masorti in Ukraine and in Kyiv. So you know that Kharkov still have, because people and teachers and Noam, it's youth movement, and Marom, they still be in Kharkov. It's very difficult now, but people moved to Western Ukraine, but it was day school. It was a community that started. It was youth movement, teenagers movement. And in Kyiv, I told you before, we started Kehila in Dnipro. Just it's maybe the youngest Kehila, and it was a beautiful community in Odessa, and also children garden that we started to do, and other things. So it's now, thank you for the question, because it was just like, you know, that like pre-war life, and it's, I know, I understand it's difficult to remind what war, because we just now have another pictures before our eyes. But I want to thank and to say that most of people are in safe place from all this community. It's good, but we really miss them. And some of them, they came to Israel. Some of them, they are in safe place in Western Ukraine, in Chernovitz community. And we also want to thank to Masorti Olami and Schechter, that can brought all the people together to safety place, and also to give us and many people opportunity to escape to Europe or even to Israel. Berlin, yes, it's Europe.
When did you make the decision, and members of your community make the decision that it was time to leave? Because a lot of people waited and waited and waited.
Can I also answer?
Yeah.
So we did and prepared our cultural program and project, like Limud Labs, and it was like a seminar that it was planned on 24 of February in Chernovitz, near Ukrainian border. Chernovitz, it's our community. That's the first community what was in Ukraine. And it's a little town that have very, very rich Zionist history. And also we planned to do this seminar maybe before month before war. And we just moved and gathered people in this date, 24. It's like, you know, it's now we know this date like beginning of the war, but it was regular seminar. And 30 people from Odessa, Kharkiv, and Kyiv were just invited to this seminar, who were active and who were listening lectures and teachers. And so we started our way, just to know that it's dangerous to not dangerous. It was like we were really worried that the news are strange, and it looks like it will start war. And they bought their tickets before, just 2 weeks or weeks before the seminar. And Reuven and I, we started to invite not only the members of seminar, but their families, just to know that it could be a safe place to be there. But most of them, they say, no, we know that everything will be okay. And in the night of the war, people were gathered, they were in trains on their way to seminar. And then it was really big tragedies, because they started to call to their members of their family that go just take their children, or I don't know, because some of people they came with children, some of people not, to their husbands, to their couples, just to move from Kyiv, because you know that it starts from Kyiv and Kharkiv, but they didn't believe that it will be a war, maybe just like like action of terrorism, like this.
Yeah, some sort of operation or action, but not a full-blown war.
And they were all Kyiv was in panic. It was impossible to escape from Kyiv. It wasn't petrol. It wasn't it was a huge lines of cars, and some people who just they decided to escape on that moment. On that moment, they reached to Chernovitz on after 2 days, you know. And on this place that we have 30 people seminar, we had 60, 70 people. And we slept on one bed, one family, one bed. So, you know, that it was a place like a refugee camp. And most of people, they were decided to move by themselves to reach other country, to reach relatives in European country. It was old people. It was people who just took only their can just some bags to seminar, and so we are. But we just that we hear that it could happen something through December, and when our family went to seminar, we just decided to take all the documents what we have, and we asked people just to take all the documents what they have, and monies on what
By documents, you mean passports,
different passports. We just we have all the diplomas, passport, whatever. Some of them they have ktubot, all Jewish documents, because it was it was before war starts. It was very trigger situation. It was like in the area where something could happen, but we even no one couldn't imagine what it will be the war, but we thought that it will be some like operation in near Donetsk area or something like this, but no one didn't expect that they would bomb Kyiv. So it was the same story how the second war just started. It's the same plan. So we really shocked. We just now we just can't realize, but it's like a bad dream.
Yeah. So you and your family and about 60 other people who were already scheduled to go to this conference, they got there. And so when the war started, you were already out of Kyiv and in Western Ukraine. Are you still in contact with members of the community that are in Kyiv, that are in Odessa, in the other areas? What are you hearing from people that are still stuck in these areas where the war is actively taking place?
And that we started to invite them to Chernovitz, and we started to work together with community. They also invited people to their homes, and we rented cheap flats because we were the first who we started to organize food and something like this, and we call to everyone and we invite everyone, And I also want to thank to Masorti Rabbi and Schechter Institute who helped to do this. And so we also they help with transport to transport people who have opportunity and don't have money to reach to Chernovitz. And I know the big group that we escaped. They are in Berlin now and in Israel. And also we every day we have conversation with people who stuck in Kyiv and in Kharkiv, especially because you know that Kharkiv was bombed. And people also moved every day. They move to Chernovitz, and they try to go over the border, but you know that it's impossible for men. Only when men have 3 children or men without wife with child. And most of men, they are in Chernovitz or in their town, and they defend. We have members of our community that defend their own town, and we have some people who are in the army from our communities. And so the people who reach abroad, it's mostly women with children and teenagers. And we have some old people who didn't want to move. They here they in Kyiv, and they don't want to leave their flats, and they don't to even my parents they don't leave they don't want to leave their home.
So your parents, Michal, are still in Kyiv?
They're not in Kyiv, they're in Western Ukraine.
Western.
But you know that there is no safe place in Ukraine because they use ballistic bombs, and they don't have like plan to reach one city. They just do this in chaos way. Mm-hmm. It's every day they have bomb in Ukraine, and we couldn't explain where it can and what city will be bombed. And yes, we have. I want just to say that we don't know the people who were killed. That we know them personally, but we know that we have a lot of victims, peaceful victims near the Kyiv and Mariupol and other cities. And I know that they have the first day they killed Jewish people, 6 Jewish people from like it's like hospital for
maternity, the maternity hospital.
So yes, that people who have psychologist.
Psychiatric hospital.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's if you read about Babi Yar, it's like it's really like the same. They started from the from people who are
who are vulnerable.
Yeah.
They start with vulnerable people. So it's you know the press has certainly been reporting that the Russians seem to be intentionally attacking civilians and hospitals, schools, residential areas. It's your impression from having been there and from the people that you speak to that reporting is accurate. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah. You know that most people that escape now, they are also in danger during their way. It's very dangerous to escape from Kyiv. And most of them, they really afraid. They just wanted to be at home because we know that people were killed on their way. to escape. And you know that when Russians give the green corridor, they also shoot during this time, and we have a lot of victims in Ukraine, peaceful people, not military people, not connected with military, that the Russians killed during they wanted to escape. It's very, it's it's like a movie about the Second War, but it's and most people who escape, they have very hard post-trauma syndrome.
So Reuven, I understand that you're going to be going back to the border. When are you doing that, and what's the work once you get there?
Can I speak Hebrew?
כן. בין מיכל ואני אנחנו מתרגמים אותך.
תתרגם אותי?
Yeah.
Okay. So I understand the question, but it's difficult for me to answer.
переходи на
אוקיי, אני overleave it. אז בעצם כן, אני רוצה לעזור לעוד אנשים לצאת מאוקראינה. יש לנו חבר קהילה שהוא היה קונסול באוזבקיסטן, נדמה לי, הוא גם כן עוזר לנו מאוד עם כל הלוגיסטיקה.
So you're going to go back and help members of your community to get out, and you have a friend who's a consul in Uzbekistan who's going to be part of that? Is that what?
עכשיו הוא בברלין עם הרבה אנשי קהילה שלנו שגיזה מקבלת אותם שם, מקבלת יפה מאוד.
So there you have members of the Kehila and this friend who are currently in Berlin. They're working with our colleague Giza, who's the rabbi of the Masorti Kehila in Berlin, and they've been receiving these people very well.
אבל לפני שאני נוסע לשם, חוזר לשם, אני גם רוצה לנסוע לקהילה שלנו שבברלין, אני רוצה למצוא דירה בארץ, שזה בעיה היום, מפני שהרבה אנשים יגיעו גם מאוקראינה וגם מרוסיה, גם עולים וגם ישראלים שחיו באוקראינה או ברוסיה, היום הם פה, ולמצוא דירה זה פשוט בעיה.
But there are a lot of people from a lot of different places that were in Ukraine that are coming out, and they have problems to get to where their destinations are. You're gonna try to help them. What's the help that you're gonna, how do you help them? And what are the different mechanisms that you need to reach to in order to provide that help?
אוקיי, יש דברים טכניים בעצם, ויש דברים של הנפש, אפשר להגיד, לא יודע, רוחנים, נגיד ככה. אז טכנית צריך אוטובוס לגבול, ואחר כך אוטובוס מגבול.
There's technical needs, and then there's spiritual, psychological, religious needs. The technical needs are to get buses to the border of Ukraine and other countries, and then from the border to other places.
צריך למצוא איפה ללון ולאכול.
Got to find places for them to sleep as well as food.
And אם יש למישהו בעיה בגבול, אז גם לעזור עם זה, ויש לנו כאילו דרכים לעשות את זה, כאילו לעזור.
If people have difficulty crossing the border, it's also to help with those border issues.
מבחינת רוחניות, אז יש כל מיני בעיות שאנחנו רואים מכל מיני אנשים, זה כל מיני פאניק אטק ודברים כאלו, וכאילו אנשים עוזבים את המקום חיים שלהם, לא בגלל שהם רצו את זה, בגלל שהם פשוט מוכרחים לעשות את זה, וזה גם לי בעיה, האמת, כאילו, זה לא רק בשביל
I mean, and so the ruchani issues, the spiritual issues, have to do with post-traumatic stress. The people having to leave their homes not because they chose to, but because they had to. And as you mentioned, it's not only helping other people with that, but you and Michal and your family are also suffering from that.
אז לעשות תפילה זה מאוד עוזר, וכאילו, וגם פשוט לדבר עם אנשים קצת, זה מאוד עוזר להם. זה כאילו לדבר תפילות, זה מה שאנחנו בעצם עושים.
Prayer and talking. Go ahead, Michal.
And you know that people need person needs person. Yes, person needs person. So you know that members of our community, they were very trusted to Reuven, and so you know that now when we every day just talk with people who are in Ukraine in our community and in Berlin, and they said we need to talk to you. But we know that they have Giza, they know that have a lot of other friends, but you know that person needs person. That's why I understand that they are waiting for Reuven, they just to see him.
Right.
And he will be in the one bus or one group with the people who are escaped. It's different atmosphere. And I know that just a presence of person, you know that something happened in the family, we need somebody or father or mother. It's like, you know,
it's comforting. It's comforting to have that familiar relationship. I'm going to go a little bit beyond our time because I have a couple more questions. Zelensky, President Zelensky is probably now, at least in the Western world, the hero of leaders. I read that there was some concern amongst the Jewish community that a Jewish person would be the president of Ukraine, considering the complicated history of Ukraine. What can you say about how the Jewish community felt before the war in terms of Zelensky being president? Were they actually afraid that there might be some pushback on the Jewish community as a result of that? And certainly now, what's the feeling of Ukrainians about his leadership?
That's my opinion. It's just I know that we know President Zelensky like showman, and really, I personally was really worried that he's not professional. And for Jewish communities, it was like golden age in Ukraine, because everyone told that we have Jewish president, so we are free people, and we have person who will we had the law about anti-Semitism during his
right. A week before the war, the Ukrainian parliament passed that law that anti-Semitism.
Yes. So just, and also most people said, oh, you are Jewish and you have Jewish president, and people we really worried that because of this they will hate Jews, because we have a lot of privilege. We have a lot of festivals. We did just in center of Kyiv, we put menorah, our menorah. Other communities could put Hanukkiyot. It was like, it was not only for Jews, but for every religion. It was really democratic state. And so by economically way, yes, it was difficult time when people said it's because of Jewish president. But during the war, we even didn't expect that we will have like example of heroism. And nobody told that he is Jewish now. They all just they call them Superman, I don't know how, but nobody called them like Jew is Jewish comic. Nobody call them him now. So and even now, when maybe Jewish community, they are very organized, and we have a lot of Jewish organizations who help Jews to escape from Ukraine, and also maybe Ukrainians not so organized, but we put to our bus people who Jews, not Jews, if we have some places, but I know the same other communities, and other communities open their synagogue to accept other people, to give them food and other, and nobody, yes, and now no one says that he is Jewish. You hear in all these publics, no,
חוץ מכשאומרים שבאוקראינה בשליטה נאצים, אז אנחנו אומרים שהנה, זה לא יכול להיות, כי הנשיא הוא יהודי. וכולם יודעים שהוא יהודי.
It's impossible. Those who would say that, like Putin, who would say that Russians are coming to remove the Nazis from Ukraine, it's not possible because the president is Jewish. It's just wrong. How important? How important? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so you know that before the war, we have just 25% that were for another party, and 75% who choose Zelensky. And now most of our people, they said that now we have 100% that they love Zelensky because of his heroism.
Right. His leadership is
transcending. That Zelensky join Ukraine nation now, and all Ukrainian people.
Right. He's transcended. His leadership in this crisis has transcended any sense of difference. Everyone's Ukrainian now. That's it. I'm going to ask our Yuri, our tech guy, to put up in the chat of Facebook and YouTube information about Masorti Olami, the Masorti movement, and how people can give in order to support the Masorti movement, to help the some 2,000 members in the Masorti community in Ukraine to help in that refugee crisis. You can always help through UJA Federation in Toronto, by giving through the JDC, the Joint Distribution Committee, as well as the Jewish Agency for Israel. Those are the two main organizations that are working in Ukraine in order to rescue the Jewish community, as well as many others. Also today, I understand that UJA Genesis is calling for a specific set of goods that are needed that they'll send over to the border towns to help people. You can find that information on our Facebook page, as well as my own Facebook page. So if you wanted to drop things off at the JCCs in the GTA today as a gift of Purim to help those that are in need, that will be helpful. I have one last question for you. I kind of know the answer for it, but I think it's important to hear. How important is it to you and to others to know of the way in which the global Jewish community is responding to this, to know that there are people that are praying for you, people that are giving tzedakah in order to help, that as soon as there's a call for volunteers, I'm sure that there'll be many people, including myself, who are eager to go to Europe and to help in any way possible. How important is that to you and to the people in your community, as well as to Ukrainians in general?
What we feel personally, that we are not alone, and it gives us hope and strength. And you know that when we we are like a family, Rabbi's family. We do a lot, but we are only people. If we know and we can tell to our communities that it's not only us, all Jewish people, all our communities give us bodies, buses. It's not, you know that it's like a chain. It's like not a chain, it's like a big unity that give us we personally feel that we are not alone, and we can together help to many people. And when we just cross the border, and when we call to people from Sokhnut, from Nativ, to when we read all these messages, how are you, which help you need, it's, you know, that people are we are social persons, human beings, and you know that community, big Jewish community, give us desire and like faith to that we over can that we can pass this tragedy.
That you can persevere. Yeah.
So we are really grateful for everyone who write, who pray, and we feel this. You know that it was one Shabbat that we were in. It was during the war, and we all prayed together, and we have a big prayer from Masorti and Schechter, and everyone was with us. And after this, it was peaceful night. You know, like it was that we just feel that people can believe that you know that it's there is Kadosh Baruch Hu who are with us, and that we are in one, that we are one big family. And now that we will have our people in Berlin, and that they live in families, in community. And when we meet people in Budapest who give us food, and when we just receive all these messages and prayers, and we feel that all what we are talking about in the synagogue, it's true.
Yeah, when these values aren't just slogans, that there are
Yes.
people around the world who take them seriously. And the two mitzvot that are most prevalent right now are Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze B'Zeh, that all of Israel is responsible one for another, and the mitzvah of Pidyon Shvuim, mitzvah of redeeming the captives, of redeeming refugees. You know, Maimonides, just for those that are watching, Maimonides says that mitzvah supersedes, like Pekuach Nefesh, when that mitzvah needs to be activated, that mitzvah supersedes all other mitzvot. And that's one that we have a responsibility to engage in. I want to thank both of you. I can't imagine how exhausted you are, and the pressure that you feel, having to take care of each other, having to take care of your three beautiful girls, and then also to think about the responsibility of leading not just a community but many communities in Ukraine. I want to thank you for coming and sharing this. I think it's important for people to hear from those like you who are living through this, what's happening. It's part of what inspires people to continue to write those messages, to give of their time and their money in order to help. So I want to thank you for that. I know that you have another conversation in about an hour with another group of people. Reuven, we want to wish you hatzlacha, and safety and security as you go back. I'm working with the Sochnut, with the Jewish Agency, and with Masorti Olamid to try to organize some volunteerism. I hope to be able to come and maybe see you in person and give you a hug in person within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Know that we in Toronto are here for you, and God willing, this will end soon, and we can begin to rebuild. Unfortunately, you know, the realist, you know, the religious person is praying for that. The realist in me understands that this is going to be a long process, and not an easy one. But thank you again, and Hatzlacha Rabbah. good health and
Thank
safety.
you very much, Steve. Thank you.
And thank you all for support.
Thank you to all for support. All support, it's very important for us.
We want to remind everyone that you can find out more information on how you can participate in providing support for the refugees of Ukraine, especially the Jewish refugees, which number in some 200,000 Ukrainian Jews. There's an expectation of several thousand Ukrainians and Ukrainian Jews coming to Canada as well as to Israel. But right now, the immediate concern is still to get people to safety to Western Ukraine and into Europe and other countries. You can find information on how to give on our website, www.beth-tzedec.org, and on our Facebook pages. Thanks again to my friends. Thank you all for joining us. Have a good day. Bye-bye.